two, and we are recording
All right.
yet again with the great, the wonderful Lieutenant Colonel, Mr. Berney Flowers, and who I was just giving the ropes on. He had a napkin, so he didn't spill his coffee on himself. And I was telling him, you got to wear a dark shirt with a dark chair, crop it upwards. I mean, you don't even know if I'm wearing pants. That's the whole beauty, is you just got to go real sly in there, right? That's the thing.
I
Yeah,
mean,
people.
I want to think about that,
No,
man.
no, you don't. But hey, it's the wild card. Keep the guests on their back foot. You got to establish dominance. Is Tommy wearing pants? I don't know. It's part of the art. And completely unrelated to this podcast, but as I told you this morning, I mean, truly has nothing to do with this podcast. But I mean, I don't know who lives above me in this apartment complex, but someone either tore up an entire carpet or tried to build a treat for it with a hammer and nails this morning. My God in heaven. I mean, I might start shooting through my ceiling.
Don't do that.
No, I will not do that. Obviously, that's a joke, and that does not represent Mr. Flowers' campaign. But Berney, introduce yourself for everybody that doesn't listen to the last podcast.
Sir, I am Berney Flowers. I'm running for Congress in the 2nd District of Maryland. I got a long history in the United States military and DOD. And I saw some of the crazy things that we were spending money on and some of the crazy things we were doing. I found them to not be conducive to the American people's welfare. So I decided I'm going to stop what I'm doing after 33 years, almost 34 years of DOD and federal service. And I think I can do a better job helping the American people by running for Congress and winning.
And it wasn't 30. What was the exact amount of time? It was 33 years. How many months? How many weeks? How many days?
Well, the Air Force was 20 years, 7 months, and 23 days, to be exact. And so, and then the DOD was another 13 and a half years. And the bottom line is, I got a chance to work at the senior levels of government, and I had access to all the 3-letter agencies and DARPA and all these crazy places. And I started seeing, I see a pattern here.
Yeah.
And this is not what I want to see in the future for the American people. And okay, I'm one guy, but one guy can make a difference. So here I am. And you discovered me, and I am thankful for it, sir.
Absolutely. Well, I'm thankful for you. And the reason I asked you for the exact number of years, months, weeks, days, because that's a man with attention to detail. He doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk. That's how you know that. And man, and also a man after my heart, talking about DARPA. And I know it's nothing you can tell me, but I mean, good Lord, that is.
What I can tell you is they got some scary capabilities, stuff that most people don't think about. They gather up all the smart weirdos and put them behind a fence and lock the door and let them create their sometimes evil concoctions. And those concoctions are supposed to be spread against our enemies, not us. So I'll just leave that alone.
There we go. Yeah. I mean, that's the weapon systems of the vast weapon systems of the future. And their nimble navigation, their ability to, like you said, take the geniuses, lock them behind a door, and give them a blank check and born black programs. Hey, guys, concoct whatever you want to concoct. We know the internet, the ARPANET. We don't know all the other stuff. And like you said, to be used against enemies, what happens when those extrapolations come home and they start turning into social media algorithms and surveillance?
There you go.
Gorgon stare, monitoring things in real time, gigapixel cameras, just constantly filming cities like Baltimore. Yeah. Gorgon stare was used over Baltimore in 2015. Which is,
let's not talk about that.
Well, no. It's fine. It's fine because it's in a publicly available book.
I got it. I'm surprised that you know about that.
Not a lot of people do. It's one of my favorite books because it's so absurd. It's Eye in the Sky, Rise of the Gorgon Stare, How Surveillance Technology Will Watch Us All by Arthur Holland Michael on Audible. I listened to it in 2020. I remember when I listened to it, I was like, how do I know this? And I tell people about it all the time. Like, the hell are you talking about? I actually interviewed some guys from the Air Force early on in the podcast, like early 2020. And I was talking about Gorgon Stare. And these were guys that were involved with, Air Force ISR. And one of them was still active. And I remember he was looking at me and he was just kind of staring at me. And
probably how I'm looking at you right now.
Yeah. But pulled up the book on Audible, bestseller. Everything I'm saying in there. It's from the bestseller, not from any. It's in the chapter. I've listened to the book before. They talk about it. Don't come at me. Come at Arthur Hall and Michael.
Nor deny.
Yeah. I know something's up because he won't respond to any of my emails, and everyone responds. Even Henry Kissinger will respond. He'll say no, but he will respond. But things like that, where they are turned on the American people, allegedly, especially in the wake of 9/11,
Patriot
Act. Yep. We're seeing all those things. And, but to kind of pivot from that, because I can go down this rabbit hole with you and I will happily do it a million times. But I want to
before you leave it.
Yeah.
Remember, let me tell you one thing and then I'll shut up. I'm lying, but I'm just going to tell you that I'm going to shut up. Just follow me. There's such a thing as compartmentalization.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people with all kinds of clearances and they work on the widgets and they have no idea what their widget is going to be used for. And there might be somebody in the background who puts the widgets together to make them useful. But the average person lives up here around the military base, goes as a civilian, does all this super secret cryptology, whatever. And the idea is like, I have no idea what this is. I'm just going to my kid's baseball game. But they go to work behind the fence and they're doing some crazy physics project that nobody understands. And most people are taught in this business, don't ask what your buddy's doing because you really don't want to know. I'm not talking about, regular military guys, gun shooters, gun toters, that sort of stuff. There are some people that are doing some really, really exotic things. Mm-hmm. They are compartmentalized and they don't talk about, they're literally trained not to talk to their buddy, even at lunchtime. So that is how things occur. And we are taught not to ask questions. And unfortunately, I started asking questions.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, and on one hand, you do have the importance of compartmentalization, right? You don't want to have one department with everything, because then all you need is for one mole, either a traitor to the United States or a foreign asset, to get in there and they have the keys to the kingdom. So on one hand, you want compartmentalized. The Titanic was supposed to be compartmentalized. That's what was so revolutionary about it. But look what happens when one thing manages to get into all the compartments.
Yes, sir.
The unsinkable sinks. So on one hand, you need that. Like all things, be it weapons or classification protocols, that also means, we're worried about traitors and we're worried about seditious actors within our own government, and we're worried about foreign assets. But that doesn't really take into consideration, what about someone who rises organically through the ranks and maybe they're not a good apple. And all of a sudden,
it happens every once in a while. We have counter surveillance people. We have all kinds of folks that are the watchers watching the watchers.
Oh yeah. I mean, who is it? Aldrich James?
Yeah. That's one.
Yeah, Kim Philby. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have guys like James Jesus Angleton, who just like he snooped on the spooks. He spooked the spooks.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, it's but that's kind of one of the fascinating things to me about DARPA, and we'll get to the campaign in a second. But like, I had just read another book I've read a ton of books about DARPA, but I had read something like a couple months ago, and I think it was The Imagineers of War, or by Sharon Weinberger, and I liked it because it was the first time I'd read a lot of DARPA books, and a lot of them kind of go over the same things. There's only so many projects that are declassified. Hers was the book that really shed light on stuff that I had never heard of before. And I think I'm a pretty big geek about this stuff. And one of them was in the 50s. And it was about the like an early version of SDI, where we're going to use nuclear bombs to create basically nuclear shaped charges, Kasaba howitzers, which would shoot the radiation into space. And it's insane. But before they had
I laugh because people actually think that they can control a nuclear reaction.
Oh, I know. Well, that's the kind of mad scientist beauty of it. Well, they had realized that they couldn't, but they still wanted to produce the X-ray beam. Mm-hmm. And the only way to produce the energy was, they were like, we'd have 30 minutes heads up. We would need to be able to produce the energy in 15 minutes to aim. And they're like, how could we possibly do that? They actually did the math, and they realized that if they drained all of the Great Lakes in 15 minutes, the amount of, because it's just simple equation, right? It's just the weight of the water times the distance that it's traveling, and that's the energy produced, right? Mass times velocity, momentum, and force equals mass times acceleration. And they're like, that would be enough energy that if we had built these like multiple Hoover dams and drained the entire Great Lakes in 15 minutes and be able to power. Now, obviously, they didn't build it, but part of the thing was is they actually looked at it, and when the math checked out, they actually started looking at like just how hard would it be to build like 100 Hoover dams, and then eventually they were like, hey, you know what, mutual assured destruction is kind of cheaper. So, but
there's stuff floating through my head, and I'm like, I should shut up right now before I start running off at the mouth.
Don't get fired. Don't, or you know, get fired. Don't get us both killed. I mean, some of this, all this stuff I say is from books on Audible. Just full disclosure. So this is, but I mean, Copper Canyon, like a hypersonic craft in the 80s, like under Reagan. That, I mean,
oh, just remember how long they kept the F-117 hidden.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, the SR-71 flew in 1964. That thing still looks alien. Its top speed still technically classified.
Yeah. And the thing is, they still have them out in the boneyard in Arizona. That thing could be operational in a week if you needed to.
Oh yeah. I mean, you telling me there isn't some Aurora craft out there? BS. Don't. I mean, but so as not to get
let's go to the domestic issues.
So as not to get us both killed. We didn't really. No, again, everything I'm saying is on Audible. This is parallel construction. This is on. You go after the authors. Not. We're just having a chat here. We're just two buddies. So we really, So last time we kind of got into everything we're getting in right now, which obviously we both have a tendency to do because it's sexy, it's exciting. Yeah. But you also do have to sort of. Realistically, you do kind of have to tame it down and to go after domestic issues, right? It's sort of like it's the political speech, right? And you're giving that JFK speech, and that sounds great, and it's rhetoric, and we're gonna, hope and change, or we're gonna make America great again, or we're gonna build back better. Yeah, we're gonna do it. What are we actually gonna do? I don't know. See, I gotta go to work tomorrow. And it's right. It's that you see the motivational video and you're like, I'm going to get 6-pack abs. And then after 2 days of working out, you're like, dude, I just want a Chick-fil-A breakfast biscuit.
This is hard.
Exactly. So with that, though, like you and I, we can talk about DARPA. We can talk about all these sexy extrapolations. But ultimately, you do have to play your position on what you can change in Maryland. You can't immediately just go in and start, slashing the corrupted, compartmentalized DOD and national security apparatus. Like you realistically just cannot. I can't start. My first interview couldn't be you. It couldn't be Dr. Malone. I had to build up to that. And so you have to do a lot of groundwork that isn't necessarily sexy, doesn't grab headlines, but it's necessary. What are the leading things that you actually want to go after? Like realistic, no rhetoric, like what are the realistic things you want to go after and do in Maryland?
The first thing that I think our problem is education. And, here we are. I'm assuming you live out in the suburbs somewhere outside of Baltimore. And so do I. So the issue is you look at Baltimore and you've got a situation where kids are graduating from high school and are functionally illiterate. 70% of the Black boys who graduate from high schools in Baltimore areas are functionally illiterate, which means they are unemployable. And so pretty much every week, I look at the weekend stats, and I think it was 2 weeks ago, there were 10 people that were shot in gun violence. The week before that, the weekend before that, same thing. These people are out doing things that they probably shouldn't do that are illegal. And they're shooting each other with unregistered firearms. That's another issue. But I think in my case, education is what we should be working on. If you're spending $18,000 per student every year, we should be able to get a better result than what we're getting. And I look around, I see these kids going into what they call the school to prison pipeline. And, those kids will go spend however many years in prison. They get out, they have no skills, they can't read, they can't contribute to society, and they go back into crime. And that is not good. And one of these days, they're going to come looking for us out here in Howard County, Anne Arundel County, Carroll County, the surrounding greater Baltimore area. So it costs all that money to put these kids in prison. As I remember, the stats are somewhere about $60,000 a year to put somebody in prison. Take that money and educate some kids and make sure they can read. We're already spending that 18,000, and school choice is my big thing. I mean, most kids. I mean, you mentioned that you went to a Catholic school, private Catholic school. Look at you. You know, you went to medical school. They do a good job preparing our schools. I mean, our kids. Now, mind you, everybody can't go to a private Catholic school. No. But what if we converted some of these public schools into charter schools and made them so that, okay, we're monitoring your output. And if you do not succeed, we will replace you. That's the American way. And those are things that I believe in. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff that I want to talk about, but the issue of the day is that I think this area could benefit from a change in educational policy, specifically in the Baltimore area. I have a good friend, Giovanni Patterson, who is a community activist. He and his buddies have literally filed a federal lawsuit against the Baltimore County schools, the Baltimore County school system, inner city Baltimore, because they're saying, hey, we're not delivering for the taxpayer. We're spending all this money and what's coming out is not an acceptable result. So I was with him and his lawyer as they filed a federal lawsuit. And people are pissed off. People are getting upset. People are getting angry. Our taxes are going up. And we've got to get from our tax dollar every bit of productivity that's possible. So that's one issue. So after you, sir.
How do you, because I was very, and I didn't go to, I got into medical school. I decided not to go. I can't say I went.
It was a choice, but you got there.
Yes, sir. But I mean, I really do attribute that to the high school I went to. I mean, I went to, private Catholic middle school, but private Catholic high school, into St. Pius X Catholic High School in Atlanta. That place, I know you can count I graduated with a class of I don't know, whatever, 250 from high school. It was about 250 each grade, 1,000 overall students. I mean, you can count on a handful how many students were quote unquote fuck ups. The number, but no, but I mean, I genuinely mean that.
Good. I've heard that. Trust me, you don't offend me at all.
But I know, but what I mean is the number of, I can't go in and say how many of my friends went and became doctors or lawyers or CPA, because everyone succeeded. Everyone wanted to become a dentist or a nurse and so it really is, it's easier to count the kids that screwed up. And now graduate, so from where college, it's not like everybody went to the University of Georgia. That's where I went. There are a lot of other smaller colleges and then a lot of kids went to different schools, but across the board, if I just go and take a minute and try to hunt one of them down, everyone is doing well. And not everyone that I went to school with at UGA did well. So I have to rationally deduce that it was St. Pius X. That school, I genuinely believe, I mean, across the board, it cannot be a coincidence that it was just a bunch of good eggs. Everyone did. My brother was 2 years ahead of me. My oldest brother was 4 years ahead of me. My younger brother was 1 year behind me. I think they would all say the same thing. They know a handful of kids that, really kind of shit the bed. Everyone else went on to succeed. That's not a coincidence. That is a direct product. And you're right. Not everyone can go to a private Catholic school. I'm very cognizant of the fact that I grew up, in an upwardly mobile nuclear family with parents that never divorced, in the land of opportunity, in a safe neighborhood. I had everything. There's nothing I ever wanted.
I just went to a public school and a poor school system, but everything you just described happened to me in rural North Carolina. Yeah. And two parents that stay together, death do you part. That's the issue right there. Yeah. And they're willing, two parents are willing to sacrifice and do pretty much, will put their children ahead of their own, wishes. You can't have anything but success.
I mean, truthfully, I think my parents would have rather died, gone broke, gone to jail, or whatever, than see us do anything remotely less than succeed. And that's another thing, it's choose your parents wisely. It's I think on a side note, that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm so intent on trying to do something with this podcast that helps other people, because the older I get, the more aware I am of just man, I got a royal flush at birth. I'm very aware of that. And I'm not.
Well, something in our last escapade together. So I posted on my website, and this lady, we've been corresponding because the stats that I gave out, she had never heard before about the federal government. And now we can do this for some of the local stuff, and not just education. There's a lot of things we need to talk about. We're going to run out of time before
No,
we
that's
get
fun. Well, like I said, man,
it was amazing.
you've got an open invite here, so let's kind of let's put a bow on the schools. What is exactly that you would have to do, or that you could do in Congress to enact charter schools? Like, because like you said, not everyone can do a private Catholic school. Like, I'm aware of that, right? We can't all sing kumbaya. I understand there are limitations and resources. What could you do to enact those?
First of all, have you ever heard of the House Freedom Caucus?
I have a couple times. I'm not entirely sure what it is.
They are the regular Republicans, the guys.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Some people call them, well, I'm not going to use that word. They are the middle of the road. Let's do the right thing for middle class America Republicans. And that's kind of where I would go. Link up with those guys, and then we start cutting off the money. That's how you do it. Because whenever something's going right or wrong or whatever, follow the money.
Yeah.
So we just basically, as a congressman, gather with those folks and like, hey, school board, Baltimore County, state of Maryland, state of whatever. Listen, the things that you've been doing have not been resulting in a good, fair deal for the American taxpayer. This spigot of money that we've been sending to you, that we've been taking from people, it's about time for that to come to an end. And until you start taking into account what American people want and what the people of Baltimore want, what the people of Anne Arundel County, Howard County, and such, even Loudoun County down in Virginia, this money is going to stop. And there's plenty of it. I mean, as you remember, Mr. Biden seemed to have an ability to just send huge billions of dollars overseas. Why don't we just bring some of that money back home?
Well, you're asking a question that's going to get us both killed, because we both know what it is it's laundering money through NCOs in foreign countries under the guise of aid. But no, but really, yeah, how come not bring? So if I'm just attacking you, all right, let's just play devil's advocate. I'm attacking you. The first thing I'm going to do, the first soundbite I'm going to take is you saying, let's chop the money, or let's turn off the money to the schools. How does that lead to charter schools?
Well, there are organizations out here that actually operate charter schools and are actually doing a good job. I can't remember the name, but and I could probably look this up for you. But the issue of the day is there's several organizations that run successful schools in inner cities. I should have had this written down for you. I could send it to you, but there's several of them in New York. There's several of them. There's a couple of them in DC. Everybody's not poor in Baltimore and DC. So the people that are doing well, you don't hear about them because they're busy doing well. They're working. So you give the money to the successful programs, and the school boards that are not successful. The American way is competition, and you redistribute those people to other places now, or re-educate them. But the idea is that there are people waiting right now to start charter schools. They may not be part of the typical traditional school system, but the issue of the day is if we can get these kids to read. Anybody can teach someone to read if you know how to do it. And if you can teach these regular kids to read, then you can educate them. Send them over to the community college. We need welders. We need plumbers. We need people. And here's another thing. A lot of folks in the inner city don't want to leave. They don't want to move. For example, I had to move away from North Carolina to find my destiny. Well, up until, at least when Trump was in office, we were drilling oil. You know how much an oil wildcatter makes? These guys some of them don't even graduate from high school, and they're making $150,000 a year.
Yeah.
So, and there's other jobs out there, but you have to be willing to sometimes leave your comfort zone to go get it. And if the school system does not instill these young people with confidence, they'll just stay. They'll become part of the negative system, Lyndon Baines Johnson's Great Society, and fail. And I want to stop that.
LBJ's quote that I can't say.
Yeah, I can say, but I'm not going to say on your podcast.
No, technically, you can say, if everybody listening is getting my drift, that I, the white guy, can't say the quote. And Lieutenant Colonel Flowers can say the quote.
Folks will, if you let me have my way, we'll have folks voting Democrat for the next 200 years.
Yes. And I'm allowed to say folks. So go look it up. LBJ, Great Society. That's a quote. Never gets brought up. Hard
There
R,
you go.
sitting president. There you go.
Oh, and since we're talking about that, people don't realize that Joe Biden, beloved Joe, he wrote the 1994 crime bill that pretty much started this whole school to prison pipeline. But if you don't vote for him, you ain't black.
You ain't black, which is, it's just it's, these are all things that it's cool. Thank God we got banned from YouTube for having on Dr. McCullough, because now I can talk about all this stuff and without getting censored for hate speech. But
and I was about to say, what a slap in the face.
You ain't black. I didn't know that. I was not aware that he was. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Joe Biden, do you remember the name Robert Byrd?
Is that the KKK guy?
Yeah, he was a senator in West Virginia for many years.
Hillary Clinton's mentor.
He's also Joe Biden's mentor. Joe Biden spoke at his eulogy. Matter of fact, they were very close. He's his mentor. So, all these people fall in together and they pat you on the back and say all these wonderful things. And, when it's all said and done, smile in the face of regular people and plot their demise. So I'm just not a big fan of all this liberal stuff. I mean, I believe in meritocracies, and I'm trying to find a quote for you that I think you'll appreciate. You may not have heard this before, but trust me, I think you'll like it. Right. Here we go. And this is from Malcolm X, of all people.
Oh, yeah, I think I know which one it is. Go for it.
The Negro's greatest stumbling block in his stride toward freedom is not the white citizens counselor or the Ku Klux Klanner, but the white moderate who is more devoted to order than to justice. So think about that. They want everybody. And now I equate that to not just Black people, but regular middle-class people. Stay in your place. Don't attempt to rise. You are part of the great unwashed proletariat, and we, the great overseers, will monitor your progress, and we will control your situation. You don't need to do any thinking. We are in control. Sounds like the Great Reset, doesn't it?
The intelligentsia, the academic elite. We know what's best. We will guide it to the top. Don't you worry.
Yes. Sounds like you've read 1984, but that's another story for another time.
But I mean, we could really look at it as these. I mean, to me, it really seems no different than drug dealing or like the premise for the opium wars.
Yes.
You really want to control people. It's what did Sonny say in that movie? A Bronx Tale. It's like I could either have people love me or fear me. Like I'll always take fear. Like you can always choose love later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to control people because they agree with you, or do you want to put them on a pipeline that you're stuck in LBJ's Great Society and that you'll be voting Democrat for the next 200 years because it's the only way you can survive in the system? So now to clarify with the charter schools. So when you mean cut off money, you don't mean necessarily, and I might be wrong, you don't mean cut off money to education. You mean cut off money to the public schools and divert it to the organizations that run the charter schools.
Exactly. Now, in order to do something like that, you've got to have coordination with the state, because once you give the money to the state, they're the ones who distributes the money to the counties and such. So first of all, we would have to build some sort of new infrastructure with the state. I don't think it would be that hard, but I do think the people that are in charge right now are very, very liberal, very, very liberal. And I'm going to bring some of this stuff up. But the issue of the day is that we just need a whole nother version of infrastructure. And the Department of Education at the federal level, what do we need them for? Education should be run at the state level, and they get their money from the taxes that are distributed from the federal government. But the idea of monitoring that, I don't think we've done a good job of that. Or better yet, maybe intentionally we didn't do a good job, because think about this, and I know this sounds very conspiratorial, but if you keep people poor and you got these private prisons who actually need labor in order to maintain.
That's the first thing I thought when you said school to prison pipeline. I thought, well, private prison. Yeah, you want to keep them poor. We got that steady flow of capital, baby.
There you. So the federal government's paying, $60,000 per inmate. And then the inmates are actually making widgets. So now
doing some labor too.
There you go.
Doing some labor for private corporations. Prisoners cleaned up a lot of the BP oil spill.
Sure did. And I don't know if you remember this, when Kamala Harris was Attorney General in California, and they had a big wildfire. She kept some people, regular dope smoking guys. She kept them in prison longer. She elongated their sentences so they could help put out forest fires. That's wrong.
That's slavery.
But anyway, I'm getting excited.
No, you have to get excited. You have to. Well, I think no, but seriously, you have to sort of lean into these things where the spark is. I can say, I don't know anything about working for the DoD like you do, but I could say this is episode 768 of the podcast. What I have learned with this is you have an idea of what you should talk about, and then you have the actual thing you talk, much like the free market, right? We have an idea of how things should be carried out, and then you get some private companies in there and you see how they find the path of least resistance, the most profitable path, the most renewable path. I found with the podcast, you're kind of like cracking a safe. And when it starts to feel the little tension, you're like, there it is. So if we're talking about schools in a campaign, we probably both have an idea of we're going to hit the bullet points about the domestic issues in Baltimore, and we're going to go through them. But if you start to hit a thing where there's a little, the sparks are coming off and you're talking about Kamala and you're talking about Malcolm X, you're talking about private schools and private prisons and the pipeline, that's where the energy is.
Yeah.
And needle away at that. So if I were you, just respectfully, I wouldn't say don't pull away from something because you're getting excited. That's where the magic is. That's where the atomic bomb is.
Well, we say in the military, no plan survives first contact with the enemy.
There's a much simpler way of saying it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I get excited about this stuff. I was excited enough to quit my job because the issue of the day is win, lose, or draw. People like you, people like me, people are waking up. You're waking people up with your podcast. I'm waking people up with my yapping and internal anger. So we've got to do something, and people are starting to wake up. I don't know what's going on, but the people around me are pissed off. Mm-hmm. And, I shouldn't even bring this up. I'm going to let this. Howard County Schools. I could send you this, but the Board of Education, there's a certain book called Gender Queer. And I'm kind of changing the subject, but it's still on education. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's basically the book is in the Howard County High School Library over in Wild Lake. And one of my friends discovered it, and she sent me some excerpts from it. And it's literal homosexual, how to be a homosexual.
Oh yeah. No, I think my friend was telling me about this the other night.
Yeah.
The actual like books and to cut you off or interrupt you,
You're not interrupting me.
It's not that I'm against, like, it's kind of like I had this discussion the other day, and oftentimes, like I've always said this, like, and a guy I had on here actually kind of changed my mind. I don't care if this is what I've always said. I don't care if you're gay. I just don't want to know anything about it. And and he made a good point. He goes, no, I agree with that. He goes, and guess what? If you're straight, I also don't want to hear about your sexcapades. He goes,
I don't want to hear about any of it.
He goes, I don't want to hear about your genitals. And I thought about that, and I realized I could see the hottest girl I've ever seen. If one of my friends started telling me intimate details, I'd be like, gross. A girl that I would like pine for. If a friend started telling me about what I'd be like, dude, that's like a bodily act with fluids, and I don't want to hear it, man. Get away. I don't want to hear you poop. Like, get away from me. And
that's crass.
So exactly. So that's kind of made me realize when people are like, they're trying to, take away your ability to be gay. I'm like, no, I don't think we should be teaching kids homosexual acts. I also don't think we should be teaching kids about heterosexual intercourse.
Period.
They're kids.
Kids, they should be innocent and allowed to be innocent.
And allowed to, when they want, choose what they would like to be.
And so we're taking the parents out of education, or at least that's what they've been trying to do. We're busy as conservatives, literally working. So most of us aren't paying attention to the output of the various school boards. And after talking to some of my contemporaries that are running for office in other counties down in Virginia, the whole Loudoun County thing, Anne Arundel County, Carroll County, all around this beltway, the school boards have been indoctrinated with sexuality. And, that should be something that's taken care of in the home. And you don't want to indoctrinate a kid who is just, trying to learn. How about teaching them how to write, read, and a little bit of history so they don't repeat the bad things that happen? Yeah. Instead, we're over here indoctrinating people in things that make me cringe as a 56-year-old man. Yeah. But I didn't even know about this until about 6 months ago. And my good friend, my campaign treasurer, Beth Lawson, she was literally on WCBM, the local radio station here in Baltimore, talking about the very same issue. She runs this We the People organization, and that is their big deal, is not necessarily combating the school board, but holding them accountable. Because most people send their kids to school and they got no idea what's being taught in school. And here in Howard County, here in Baltimore, we're spending big money to educate these kids. We want to make sure that they're learning the basics of citizenship and how to function in a normal, plural society. So yeah, we gotta pay attention. All of us, everybody can do something.
Yeah. Mr. Flowers, tell everyone where to find you on your website and social media and stuff. I'm going to use the restroom.
Well, you can go berneyflowers.com. That'll take you to my website, and you'll see podcasts from Tommy and from other folks, and WCBM radio advertisement. And tonight I was interviewed on a television show, so that will be available on the website as well. And then also, if you go to my Facebook, you just type in Berney Flowers for Congress, and you'll see a whole lot of things of the activities that me and my friends have been doing to try to get basically a slate of Republicans elected here. And, there's several of us that are working together and have a similar idea about how things ought to be. And we're out every night campaigning, we're coordinating, we're working the rails in the entire region to try to make sure that conservative values are headed up and promulgated here in this area around the Beltway. And I just feel comfortable and very proud to work with these people. And, so that's where you can find me. And you'll see me all over the place just before you know it, at a venue near you, talking live about conservative values and the red wave that's coming, because there's a lot of people that are upset, and I'm one of them.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, that seems to be another thing is, like you said, people getting involved and people who maybe weren't aware of like what exactly their schools were doing. Yeah. And understandably, you're working, and it's kind of just been sort of a norm for the last 70 years to drop the kids off at school. Yeah. You can see how it sneaks up on you, but there's definitely a problem when you go in and see what's being taught. And then furthermore, when you start going to home and school meetings and they bring the cops to kick you out and you're labeled as domestic terrorist by the FBI. That you're over the target. You're over the breeding ground. You're over the brainwashing at the formative level. That's how you know you're over the target. So
I agree with you 100%. And the folks down in Loudoun County are the ones, Loudoun County, Virginia, are the ones who just started this red wave, and the rest of us are following. I don't know if you're familiar with Governor Glenn Youngkin.
I remember the race.
Yeah, he just was elected governor just recently, and he started out like me. He was just a guy who, in his case, happened to be wealthy, but he was just a guy who got pissed off and said, I got to do something about this indoctrination thing. And Winston Sears, his lieutenant governor, first Black female governor in Virginia. I met her the other day. Matter of fact, it was last week at an event. Wonderful, very, very smart woman, former Marine. And the two of them took Virginia by storm. And they just decimated the Democrats, who basically had all the money, all the support from Hillary Clinton, but the people were on Youngkin's side.
Yeah, that race did kind of give me hope that maybe elections, maybe free and fair elections aren't a thing of the past, which
Yeah,
I know I did fear after 20. Speaking for myself, not for Mr. Flowers' campaign, I know that's something that I didn't really feel comfortable with. It was the 2020 election. But
yeah.
moving forward from charter schools and what they're teaching in schools, what's another issue?
Well, crime. As I said before, education leads to crime. When people can't make an honest living, they're going to go take it from somebody else. And it's a big problem, especially in inner cities. And if you look at the inner cities all across the United States, Democratic run inner cities, Chicago, New York, Baltimore, Atlanta, LA, all over, San Francisco. You know that they got poop in the streets in San Francisco, and that's Nancy Pelosi's district.
I've interviewed, I mean, probably like 50 times my buddy Dale Comstock, retired Delta Force, and he's doing private security out there because these big stores are paying him through the nose to just go do security because they're. But he sends me pictures. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting.
Mm-hmm. San Francisco used to be one of the most beautiful cities in the entire world. And now their liberal policies have made it so regular people are moving out. I think they've lost 1% of their population, over 1% of their population last year. Los Angeles has lost, several 100,000 people, almost to 1% of their population. People are moving out of big cities because they can't stand the crime and they can't stand the immorality of the people that are in charge. And, in Chicago, it's literally a war zone. More people are dying there daily than in Iraq. And just recently, I think it was Kim Foxx and her crew, there was a shootout at a county courthouse about 2 months ago. And after the cops came and solved everything, or at least calmed everything down, they didn't prosecute anyone. They said it was mutual combat, like something out of the Middle Ages.
Oh, what?
Yeah, that's what I thought. So we got a moral problem when it comes to crime. People need to understand that you got to respect each other's property. I mean, think about this. And I know this is gonna be a stretch, but go with me. Just the other day, I've never watched, I hadn't watched the Oscars since I was a kid.
Oh, God.
But Will Smith feels justified in just hauling off because, somebody said something about his wife. And next thing you know, he walks up and slaps Chris Rock across the face with the world watching. How entitled is that? And then it makes the Black community look like, well, this is how Black people solve their problems. No, I've never in my life hauled off and slapped anybody in the face. And I don't know if I ever will. But in the case of Will Smith, somehow he felt justified to do that. And it's criminal. He should be in jail. Or matter of fact, he stayed there and went and accepted his award for Best Actor. What kind of crap is that? So it just, we got a moral problem. And back to the crime thing, I can't solve everything, but what I would like to do, and I've talked to several buddies that are, career police officers, and I don't know if what's happening. Maybe we're not connecting the federal government with the state government, but community policing is something that that appeals to me. And cops actually getting out of the car, stop walking around with these Judge Dredd Black uniforms on and intimidating people because it looks like the cops are some sort of invading force. And I don't know if you remember, but after so many years of the Second Gulf War, Mr. Obama decided to make military grade equipment available to local police officers.
Yeah, all the MRAPs.
Yeah, so how's it go? Everything, when you got a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Yeah. Yeah. So we got to make the cops a little bit more friendlier to the people that they're policing. And, I'm no expert in police procedures, but I got some of the best cops in the world as friends of mine, Secret Service agents, state police kind of guys, local cops in my fraternity. We can work this out and we can try a little bit harder. And as far as defunding the police, we should refund the police and give them more than they're making. I mean, the average cop that starts out in Baltimore County, you're starting out at $60,000 a year. Now, that may sound like a lot of money to some people, but you're asking someone to risk their lives every
Yeah.
day. We lose a cop pretty much, let me guess, maybe every 6 months in that area. You're asking someone to lose their, to risk their life, going out, upsetting their family, that sort of stuff. I'm talking a lot, but I'm passionate about this. But let me tell you this one story. So I'm in Germany on active duty. I'm driving from Frankfurt to Spangdahl. I'm 3 o'clock in the morning because I dropped one of my buddies off at the airport in Frankfurt. And I'm out on the A5, way out of line. I got lost. I'm Autobahn, you can drive as fast as you want, So I'm over here rolling at 100 miles an hour at 4 o'clock in the morning. And then I get the blue light. And the police officer, the Polizei, pulls me over. He says in the perfect Queen's English, "Hello, sir. You seem to be lost." He spoke better than me. And he sent me on my way, gave me directions to get back to the base. And it was wonderful. It was a wonderful interaction. But the takeaway, as I did some research, is in order to be a police officer, part of the nationalized police officer, what they call a Polizei, you have to have a master's degree in social work. And this guy was so well trained. Again, I know he spoke German. I know he spoke English. He probably spoke some other languages, but he treated me with respect.
Yeah.
He treated me so well. There was no anger. There was no, hey, you're an American out here in the middle of nowhere and you're lost. Let's throw him in jail. No. And then on another situation, I was at Oktoberfest. I'm sure you've heard of that. I was having a good time with my buddies, but we weren't doing anything wrong. But some other fellow got a little rowdy. Instead of grabbing him and snatching him, what they did is surrounded him. 4 or 5 cops came up to the gentleman and privately, quietly escorted him to the back of a place where nobody could see. And they gave him an attitude adjustment. They didn't put him in jail. When he got done, he was in the best of behavior. But they handled the situation without escalating. And somehow or other, we've taught our police officers to escalate everything. We got to learn to de-escalate. Now, do you want to put a social worker out on the streets of Baltimore? I don't know if that'd work out too well.
Hell no.
But do you want to put an 19-year-old, 20-year-old cop with very, very little training in a situation out in Baltimore with a gun? I mean, sometimes that doesn't work out so well. So I know the military training that I've had with weapons and basically how to de-escalate situations, we could use a little bit more of that. But I am no expert, but I'm willing to listen to the experts. And, we got to start there. That's how I see things, as how we can make things a little bit better. And we need to fund the cops.
Yeah. So refunding the cops, but not in the sense of they need more MRAPs and drones and rather, and at the same time, it's not the idyllic. They should be social workers, because it's like, hey, dude, at the end of the day, there are some people that it doesn't matter how de-escalating you are. They're just there to fuck shit up and take names, and they're not going back to jail. But there is that middle ground where it's like, it's not starry-eyed, we're going to send social workers, but it's also not beat it with a hammer. It's take the hammer and maybe give it the social, I guess, the mastery skills.
Find the middle path, as Buddha once said.
Yeah. I mean, I worked at a bar in Ocean City, Maryland, summer 2011, Secrets, which is like,
I've been there.
Oh yeah. Massive bar. For people that like haven't been to it, it's not a bar. It's basically like a daytime resort. It's
a destination. If you go to Ocean City, you got to go to Secrets.
It is I mean, like 5,000 people will go in a night. Like I worked at a bar in college. There'd be 3 or 4 security at night. At Secrets, you got 100 on staff. They're all connected with walkie-talkies. Like, people don't understand. It's not a bar. It has its own beach. It has its own jet skis. They have their own lifeguards. They have their own radio tower and radio station, hotel, at brewery, and like 16 bars within the grounds and restaurants. It's not normal.
Get rowdy.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
Working there really like taught me the art of like de-escalation. In college, it was a lot easier. You'd see one frat guy get too drunk. You'd have 4 bouncers just go throw him out. You don't need to be polite. It doesn't matter. What are you going to do? We're throwing you out. We have a monopoly in the bars. And if anyone else has a problem with it, you can go too. No one wants to get thrown out. All the girls are in there. It was kind of simple.
Right.
At Secrets, it's different. It's not a homogenous group of college kids. It's everyone. It's college kids. It's guys who just retired. It's dudes who
Yeah.
just got off work. It's
Yep.
girls coming down to go crazy. It's doctors, lawyers. It's everybody.
Everybody.
You really had to learn how to like de-escalate. And not only that, like the owner didn't want it escalated. He didn't want
No,
fights in there. So
that's in the profits.
so there's this weird like there was an art where like you would just have to go up and like you would just have to talk to someone and be like, hey man, listen, I know that guy's an asshole. Like I get it, but like, hey man, my boss is an asshole too. Like, so I gotta like talk to you. I don't want to throw you out. Yeah. I'd always
Yeah.
tell people like the second you start having conflict, it's the whether the bouncer or the drunk guy, there is a level of fatalism.
Yeah.
Something gears have started moving, and a series of events have taken place now that will not stop.
Yeah.
When I let go of the water bottle, it's fallen. There's
Right.
events are taking place that are woven into reality, and
Right.
or you could go up and you wouldn't have to throw him out. You could, I mean, you just make up a lie. You'd be like, listen, man, I hate my boss more than you hate my boss. But like, listen, dude, I want to get drunk too. I see her. Yeah, she's hot as shit. Like, but hey, like, you can't do this. I know it's fucking stupid, but like, you got to do
Yeah.
this. You got to do that. And hey, man, I'll look out for you guys later tonight. I'll make sure they don't come back. And then you go and say the same thing to the other guy. Doesn't matter. It's a white lie. Who gives a shit? They both, and I could get the most belligerent, roided out, tattooed from head to toe, like Guidos. You could get them to completely appreciate, bro. Appreciate. And you could, and then you'd see someone who just started working the day prior, and their first thing is to go grab them by the shirt.
Nah.
What do you expect when they start throwing fists? Like, and I'm not saying it's they're in the right. You technically can. I technically had the right of way to go grab them by the shirt, but you don't
Yeah.
do that. You maneuver. It's not football. It's basketball. It's finesse. You go in
Yes.
and now granted that's a very limited example. I'm not a police officer. That was a bar. I get that. However, I do see where that could be and granted, we were also there in numbers. So if the finesse ever didn't work, you had no
Mhm.
problem having
Right.
six guys on them. You could like that. But I feel like that could definitely be applicable to policing. More funding doesn't mean more body armor, but it
No.
also doesn't mean a bunch of social workers with clipboards.
No.
It's the middle,
There
yeah,
has
the middle
to be a
path.
balance. There has to be a balance. And, years ago, I don't know if well, actually, I was told they don't have this anymore. They used to have what's called the Police Athletic League. And that has been, basically people would get out and play basketball and softball and that sort of thing and work out their frustrations. And, it was famous. But for some reason, I believe that's been taken away. When I talk to people in inner city Baltimore, which I get over there every once in a while, they don't really have an outlet. And more importantly, the concept of finding a softball field in the middle of Baltimore, no, I haven't seen many of them. And, everything's got cages and all this sort of stuff. But the idea is just let the police interface a little bit more with the people. When I was a kid back in rural North Carolina, and I know this isn't a really good example, but the police officer, I remember his first name, I won't use it, he's still alive, but he had no gun.
Hmm.
The old Andy Griffith show where the cop had no gun. Well, where I come from, that was how things were. He knew every family knew him. You'd see him in the street. He had a police officer's uniform. He was the chief of police, and there was only one of them for 5,000 people. And it was an almost idyllic upbringing. People worked, they did what they needed to do. If there was a problem, they would call the chief and he would come and solve it. But the concept of, walking around with a 38, very rarely did I ever see him with a gun. And he knew everybody's family. And if somebody got out of line, all he did was call up their mom and it was over.
Yeah. But
You can't do that in the city.
I was about to say at the same time that can't necessarily be extrapolated to ball again. Yeah, my experience at Secrets
Yeah.
can't be applied to Harlem.
Right.
And I have to be aware of that. I can't stick my head in the sand and think that it's all just going to be, happy go lucky. It's not. That's not the reality.
The times have changed. We're dealing with, there are people in this world at the elite level who actually are making money off of people being poor. As I said before, this whole school to prison pipeline, if they don't keep those prison roles filled, then they got to lay people off. They got to lay off guards, and then there's actually production that is handled from the prison. So this is a very odd system, and personally, I think that we should not be making money off of prisoners. It's just terrible. Yeah. We should be teaching these young men a way to make a living. We should be educating the ones that want an education. Anybody that comes out of prison after a year that doesn't have a high school diploma, that means that the system has failed, in my opinion.
So is there even like another sort of front to attack it on? What about things like nonviolent drug possession? Like how many people have been turned, it's like the argument. So let's take the argument for people that are against the Second Amendment, you know, and what do people say who are for it? Well, first of all, it's mine and, over my dead body, but it's also, if you just sign a law that makes guns illegal, you've just instantly turned a bunch of law-abiding citizens into criminals.
And agreed. Carry on, because I think we're on the same page here.
So when I look at something like drug use, my logic is like I'm a good person, right? I do my podcast, I pay my rent on time, I pay my taxes, I hold the door. I think I'm a good person. If I had decided that I want to start smoking pot, like I smoked pot in college, straight A student, I got into medical school. I also smoked pot. I was in Georgia. If I'd ever been caught with pot, I probably wouldn't have gotten into medical school. But it was something that I, as an adult, would do when I was finished with my studying. If I didn't have a lot of work the next day, I'd enjoy some weed and I'd go to bed. That I'm an adult in the privacy of my own home, just like whether you want a girl or you want a guy or you want both or whatever you want, go for it. Don't teach the kids, but go for it. I view it as the same thing. I'm like, whether you want to have a beer or a cigarette or you want to smoke a fatty, like you've done your thing. You're in your home. That's none of my business. And when we turn it illegal, we are turning otherwise law-abiding citizens into criminals.
How about the war on drugs? How's that working since Nixon? We've spent billions of dollars criminalizing people. And the bottom line is, I'm more libertarian when it comes to things like that. To each his own. If I've never smoked a joint in my entire life, but I think that if somebody's in their own home enjoying whatever they're enjoying, hey, do your thing as long as you don't hurt anyone else. Yes. And as long as you're not out on the street driving, hey, it's all good. And furthermore, there are some benefits to hemp. I mean, industrial hemp, that is, you could make a lot of products out of industrial hemp. Wherever you see plastic, that some of this plastic, like, for example, I'm looking around for our phones. Those phones and the plastic in those phones are going to stay in some landfill for 300 years. If you took that plastic on that phone and made it from industrial hemp, that would be biodegradable, and it would just go into a landfill and just go away. And in the meantime, there's, manufacturing that could be done. I mean, we could convert some of our farms to making actual hemp that could be used for products right here in the United States. So some of that, a lot of people don't seem to understand there's a difference between marijuana grade hemp and industrial grade hemp, but the issue is it's all hemp. And if you go back to the turn of the century, back in 1900 or so, there's a story about Standard Oil.
Yeah.
And they decided, hey, let's take some of these oil products and use them to make plastics. And now these plastics are invading every part of our society, and they're even in our bodies. So if we want things to change, first of all, let's start with some of this manufacturing of plastics. I know we're jumping away from education, but the issue today is let people do, as long as you're not harming someone else, carry on with what you're doing. Go into your hotel room, as long as you're not harming someone else. If you want to smoke some weed, do your thing.
Yeah.
Do your thing. And I'm not going to stop you. And a police officer's time could be wasted, could be used better than going off chasing people for drugs. I mean, there are some drugs that just should not be used. I mean, some of the fentanyl and cocaine and all that sort of stuff, got it. Crack, terrible. But marijuana, really?
See, I'd have to go one step further. I'd have to respectfully disagree and say, if you're an adult, go for. I personally, I don't think I'd have the willpower to not do those drugs. Some of the guys I knew in college who are now physicians, lawyers, they
Yes,
enjoyed.
these drug hits.
Yeah. Well, they know. I mean, but they had the ability to. To them, it was just another thing that they could do on the weekends. They would spice up their weekends with a little coke, and then they, they once they went to med school, they just turned it off like a spigot. I look at it
Yeah,
and I'm like, that's not for me. And my first reflex is to say that should be illegal. That's too much. But I think if you're an adult and you can handle it, who the hell am I to say? Who the hell am I to say you can't have it? I mean, you're allowed to go own an AR-15 and 10,000 rounds. You how are you not going to go shoot up a school? Because I'm a rational adult and I own a gun. Leave me alone. So
there you go.
that's kind of how I view it. And like one step further is I look at it as like not only that, but like hemp, not to mention all the parachutes the US used in World War II were made out of hemp. But I look at other things like cocaine or opiates or psychedelics. Man, that's a whole private industry that instead of
Yeah,
using tax money to fight against, you would not only be spending, you would not only be not spending that money on the war on drugs, you would be making a massive profit from the taxes of these drug companies.
yeah,
And one step further, like all things, like all products, there are regulations. You would know what it is. So you'd
yeah.
have no reason to go buy a bag of what you think is Coke, and then someone finds you with blue lips on the floor because there was a micro dose of fentanyl in there. Why would you do that when you could just go to CVS and be like, no, man, I went and got my, when I go buy beer, I'm not worried about there being fentanyl in the beer.
Yeah,
I'm like, dude, I went and got some like Budweiser. I'm not,
yeah.
so it's that thing is where again, cocaine. Whereas for you never smoked a joint, I've never done coke. I have no intention of ever doing coke.
No.
However, if you're an adult and without like alcohol, you're not getting in the car, you're not intoxicated in public, you're not fighting someone on the front lawn. If you go home at the end of your day and be it a tumbler of whiskey or a fat line of cocaine, you're an adult. And I truly believe that you're an adult. Go do what you want. I don't think anyone's responsible for you if you OD. I don't think you're owed rehab, but go for it and let somebody go make $1 billion off of it. And if it's not a sustainable thing, then the company will fail. I'm very much so go do what you want, because if we don't, we're just going to have the same thing. We're now going to have cops arresting guys who would otherwise be law abiding citizens who just enjoy some coke and a woman. Like, you're both consenting adults, go for it. It's not for me, but
We can't police everything.
no, you
There are
cannot.
things that need to be policed. We need to take the illegality out of things. And like, for example, back in the Prohibition days, people started making bathtub gin and
Yeah,
people were dying.
because of the methanol.
Literally,
Yeah,
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 people were dying. And then folks racing through the woods of, I don't know if you know, but, I come from NASCAR country. Well, the reason NASCAR was started was
they're all
because,
bootleggers.
yeah,
Oh,
now
dude,
we got a multi-billion-dollar industry,
yeah,
a
that's
bunch of criminals.
yeah, down in Georgia. That's
Yeah,
all my buddies used to where they all lived out in out in White County, Georgia. You'd go out there and you hear stories about the bootleggers used to go up here back in back in the teens and
that's
20s.
how NASCAR started.
Yeah, you got to drive fast.
Yeah,
You literally
because you
have
got to
to
get away from the revenuers.
exactly. And
Yes.
or not only that, let's look at like a less light example. Let's look at Al Capone.
Yeah.
Let's look at his monstrosity of an empire and the people that died under his grip.
Yes.
Where was he making his money? When you make it illegal, you are providing a demand, because no one's ever gonna stop. When you say this is illegal, well, it's the same logic of this is a gun-free zone. Good luck.
Good
Oh, thank
luck.
God, there's a sign. Hey, guess what? It was also illegal to hijack planes. That
Yeah.
happened on 9/11. So it's illegal, right? It's illegal. So when I look at that, when we make something illegal, be it opiates, be it cocaine, be it weed, all you're doing is providing someone who doesn't give a shit, like the Sinaloa cartel, to go, there's money in America. These guys aren't going to stop. They're not going to stop doing it. And I personally, I don't care if they go kill someone. I don't have any idyllic values like Tommy or like Berney. I don't give a shit. They're paying me in hundreds, whatever. It's yours. I really don't care. And if there's some fentanyl in there, I don't give a shit. Sorry, drop dead. Not my problem. Make it a company. Make it a company responsible for the purity of their product.
We got to take the illegality and the crime out of the drug business. And I think that would take a lot out. I don't necessarily agree with the cocaine, but we can agree to disagree on that.
Sure.
But the idea is we got to take the criminality out of crime. I mean, these guys out in Baltimore in open air drug markets. Do you remember a couple of months ago, a little old lady going to church and she gets stabbed? You know, now mind you, the person who did it was a little crazy, but the drug thing is not good for regular law abiding citizens trying to go about their day. And people are moving out of Baltimore and the cities in droves, and the crime that is involved is what's pushing people away. And everybody can't afford to move out. And no American should have to live in a situation where they're afraid to walk outside in their own dang on neighborhood. So, and these big companies know, they do. And people are going to smoke weed. As again, I've never smoked a joint in my life, but I was subject to drug tests the whole time I was in DOD, and I never failed one. But the idea is that if people want to do things that are questionable, go close the door in your house or your apartment or wherever you live. Do it with whatever you wish to do. Harm no one. Do no harm. And I'm a kind of a libertarian in that world. As far as I'm concerned, we could do a lot by, there's a lot of laws on the books. For example, you make me think that are basically, they need to be removed. We're over here living by anachronistic laws, and our society has changed and evolved, and the law needs to evolve with our society. And as you said before, the whole Al Capone example is a perfect example. He took, okay, you can't have this. Let's find the thing that the government says we can't have, and we're going to make money off of it. Mm-hmm. And we got to stop that because it's hurting the regular average American citizen.
Yeah. And it's when people are like, well, if you make these drugs legal, people are going to start going crazy. My logic is no. The crazy people are going to continue to go crazy. Alcohol is legal. Some people can't handle it. There was a while there was a couple of years where I couldn't handle it. I got out of it. Some people just go, I can't touch it anymore. That's on them. But these are people who couldn't handle it. McDonald's isn't illegal. Some people just can't handle fast food and they weigh 1,000 pounds. It's sad, but we don't ban it for everyone because the reality is someone would just start selling underground hamburgers. Like that's just what it is. So, and we're wasting blood and treasure on enforcing laws like this. Remove all of those things, kind of sift it out, and then leave the real criminals who are the ones that are just doing criminal acts.
Yeah.
Go arrest them.
Yeah. I mean, just recently, and here we're off on another subject, but MS-13 is here.
Oh, yeah.
They murdered someone in Montgomery County, took the body, separated it, and left part of the body part here in Howard County. Can I verify that? Well, this is something I heard from one of my law enforcement buddies, but you didn't make the paper and never will. But they're here, and we know they're here. And I would like to see law enforcement focusing on real bad people like that, because what I saw coming across the border, they're making a lot of money off doing whatever illegal thing that we are unable to manufacture or whenever unable to regulate. They're bringing it, and we got to stop it. And it seems like the people in charge don't necessarily care. They see regular people, as we say, the proletariat, as a permanent underclass that should be shunned. And those are my people, and I'm not going to stand for it.
Yeah. Now, with something like, to tie it back in, are there situations where you do need to use something like a Gorgon stare? Are there places that are so far gone? And again, basing this on the book on Audible, are there times where, well, let's not even use that. Let's just use a simpler analogy, an MRAP. Are there cases where the social working aspect, the getting rid of the illegality of things, all of these things, making community policing. Are there times when it's like we've done everything else, and this person, these groups of people they're still acting up? Is that a justification for force, overwhelming force?
We got a lot of police jurisdictions, overlapping police jurisdictions. We got, local police, state police, Secret Service, county police, the sheriffs, just a lot of police jurisdictions. Everyone doesn't need an MRAP. We could centralize a lot of things. And, on the other hand, a police officer behind some steel is probably going to live a lot longer than a police officer who's not behind some steel. So we need to give them some autonomy in these decisions, but we don't need every police department having its own MRAP and 50 caliber machine gun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So these guys are smart. They're busy. And I will say a lot of times the politicians get involved, and I don't know that any police officers actually ask for this excess military equipment. It was just something Obama came up with, from what I understand. And, next thing you know, every police officer, every police jurisdiction is getting some crazy MRAP or whatever. But a lot of this stuff, we need to let the police determine what it is they need and try to fund them and talk to them, instead of some politician saying, hey, we're bringing this excess equipment from the United States Army and you're going to take it whether you like. And by the way, it's free. Not cool. Because as I said before, when you got a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not going to lie, though. I would like one of those MRAPs.
I would park one in my garage if I could get away with it, but the gas prices would just be too high.
I don't think you could fit it in your garage. Those things are monsters. Those things make Humvees look like toy cars.
Oh, no doubt about it. And, you're bringing back some memories, but when the gas is free, it's wonderful. But when you got to actually pay for that diesel in that thing, changes the parameters just a little bit.
What about a Tesla MRAP?
Is there such a thing?
I don't know, but I feel like Elon might want to tap into the defense contracts.
Trust me, probably already has.
Oh yeah, you're right. I mean, NRO, NSA, no, maybe not NSA, NRO, National Geospatial. He's not. Berney's gonna die. Please don't kill Berney.
Everybody's gonna die. It's just a matter of when.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Berney knows nothing. He can neither confirm nor deny. So we've gone over schooling. We've gone over crime. Any other big ones we want to touch on?
Well, let me think. Have you heard about this redistricting?
No.
Well, what's going on is Maryland is arguably the most gerrymandered state in the entire union.
Really?
Yeah. So, I don't know if you've looked at the redistricting maps, but there is a federal lawsuit by Judicial Watch against the state of Maryland, and the governor is actually involved, and we are right in the middle of a redistricting fight. So District 2, where I sit right now, stands in Northern Anne Arundel County, Eastern Baltimore County, Eastern Baltimore. But if the governor signs the current map that's being imposed, well, basically been presented to him, District 2 will move to, what's the name of that place? Basically mostly Carroll County and all the way up to the state, all the way up to the Pennsylvania state line. So it's changing the district. And the way the maps are written right now, they very much favor Democrats. And I don't want to just keep hammering on them, but the truth is that they have controlled the legislature for quite some time, and they basically set things up to where they'll just continue to win. Now, the gentleman that I'm hoping to run against after the primary, Dutch Rupersberger, 20 years in office, 75 years old. Steny Hoyer down in, to the south of us, I think he's been in office 30 years. These people are folks, Sarbanes, same thing in District 3. These people have been in office for 30 some odd years. Jamie Raskin, these people you never hear their names on national television. All you hear about is AOC and Nancy Pelosi. But these guys are like 1, 2, 3, 4 in the Senate. I mean, in the very high-ranking congressmen, and they control a lot. And they basically carved up Maryland to basically where they can't get them out of office. And so the redistricting effort is a chance to make things a little bit more fair for those who might challenge them. And it would put my opponent from Dundalk and northern and eastern Baltimore, where he grew up, into Carroll County, where it's very, very Republican heavy. And I don't know if the governor will sign this legislation. I don't know if it will go through, but right now we got a federal judge that says the current system is unsat and it will be changed. So I don't have a map in front of me. Maybe I can read some of this stuff or find it for you quickly, but
Sure.
that is hot right now, and it will definitely affect my race no matter what.
Sure. Do you have the map?
I'm going to look for it, and but I'd have to forward it to you so folks can see it. But I'll just type it up. But redistricting map, Maryland. Let's see how quick I am at typing. Not very quick.
You're quite all right.
There, redistricting. There we go. 2022. And la 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 la. There it is. Let's back off, because it's the way it is right now. It's hard to see, but as House approves, redrawn redistricts map. Now, how can I give this to you? How can I let you see it?
Let's see. Share screen. There should be an option that says share screen.
I see it.
If you just click on that, it will show me your screen.
Yeah, there you go. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to hit share.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. Maryland. Yeah, Maryland matters.
Yeah. And I'm going to make this bigger so I can see it. But yeah, it's a little crooked, but if you see District 2, and if you see my cursor, as things stand right now, here's Howard County, and my district would be as it stands right now, right where my cursor is. Can you see my cursor moving?
Over 7 and 3.
Yeah. Well, all of this stuff is like an earthquake happened and redid everything. And it's all according to, the federal judge saying things have been unfair here for a very, very long time. So instead of me campaigning in this area, I'd be campaigning way up in here. And that's fine. It's very, very conservative up there. And I will chase Mr. Rupersberger wherever he goes. But I don't think he's very happy campaigning up here instead of down here. And then I'm looking for Baltimore. Here's Anne Arundel County and all that sort of stuff. But this is a big deal. Matter of fact, here's the headline. The Maryland General Assembly is racing to approve a new congressional district map after a judge in Anne Arundel County Circuit Court rejected the legislative Democrats' previous redistricting plan last week. Maryland Matters illustration. And so this is, breaking news, and it's hot right now. So I encourage anybody who's interested, please look at Maryland Matters and check it out, and it'll tell you everything that's going on far better than I can.
So that happened very
recently.
This
is happening, yeah, like this week. This map just came out I think yesterday or the day before. And as I understand, the governor is supposed to either accept or reject it today. So by tomorrow, by this evening, we will have the governor's decision whether he's going to accept it or not. And it's been unfair for a long time, and that is why of the 8 districts or congressional districts in Maryland, we have only one Republican congressman.
Got it.
It's been unfair for a long time. And
so this is going to work. You think, will this work in your favor?
Personally, I believe it will. I'm ready for all comers no matter what. But my opponent has been, sitting there happy and comfortable for 20 years in his district where he was born. And he's got now his apple cart will be upset. And if I can get through the primary, it's going to be a fair race. Yeah, he's got the name recognition, but I got the shoe leather and I'm willing to use it.
Hell yeah. So we'll do like 10 more minutes. So I kind of wanted to jump and we'll do more domestic issues next time. But in the final 10 minutes, what are some things that you can do because you will be running for U.S. Congress? What are some national issues you want to touch on, and how much? I guess this is perhaps my own the limitations of my own knowledge. What all would you be involved in nationally?
Well, the biggest thing that I would like to talk about is the Biden agenda. Since he's been in office, our gas prices have gone up. The food prices have gone up. He said himself that expect food shortages. I don't know if anybody's paying attention to the national news outside of the mainstream media, but he's not doing us any favors. And our government has, as I said before in our last podcast, they're over here funding research laboratories. I'm not going to say weapons research laboratories because there's a difference. And if you don't mind, I'm going to get out of the share screen so you can see me.
Sorry. Yeah, I was trying to figure out how to close it.
Yeah, I'm going to close it for you. And if I stop share, there you go.
Yeah. Funding the weapons labs in Ukraine.
Yeah. We should not be in that business. That's like poking a bear, literally poking a bear. Yeah. And Vladimir Putin is a terrible human being, as I said before, but we don't need to aggravate him by putting, weapons research facilities in his backyard. And I don't know if you know anything about the topography or basically the map of the Ukraine. He wants the eastern part of Ukraine, Crimea, and a lot of those people over there are Russian speakers. I experienced it. He wants the eastern part so that he can have a warm water port for his Navy. And, am I saying that we should give it up? That's a tough call, but poking the bear is not a good way to do things. It's bad over there. Yes, I feel terrible for the Ukrainian people, but we've got to do better than calling the man a maniac and calling him a murderer on mainstream TV, because he's going to get pissed off just like we're pissed off. And just as you were saying in your analogy about secrets, we don't want to escalate the situation. We want to de-escalate the situation. So as a national level politician, the Congress should be holding him accountable for his words. And we're not doing that. We're letting him get away. And the last speech he gave, he said basically to the members of the 82nd Airborne that, hey, we're going into Ukraine.
Ukraine.
Yeah. And I'm like, what kind of leader is that? Yeah. Somebody's got to hold him accountable for his words. And that's what the Congress's job is. Somebody should be censuring him or maybe impeaching him. Yeah. That's some of the things that I would like to engage in. Hey, we got 3 more years of this guy. And past him, we got, if we impeach him, we got Kamala Harris. So those are 2 people that I don't have a whole lot of faith in. And I would love to get into Congress and bring those people to heel, because right now with the Congress being under Democratic control and they basically got a carte blanche to do whatever the heck they want. And I don't think what they want is good for the American people. Back to the whole gas thing, we're sitting here with 500 years worth of gas and oil in the United States, in the borders of the United States, in Alaska, in Texas. I mentioned, North and South Dakota. We're canceling gas pipelines. That's got to stop. We should be thinking about Joe Sixpack and making sure he can get to work, or she can get to work. But it seems like the people in Congress don't seem to care about regular folks. And I give a damn about regular folks because I am regular folks.
Yeah. It's on one hand, you can't be an isolationist, just to play both sides of the issue. On one hand, you can't be an isolationist, right? World War I, and then the sinking of the Lusitania and the Zimmerman telegram, and then we went in. World War II, we don't want any part of this. We'll do Lend-Lease with Britain, and then eventually it dawns on us that it's like, hey man, it's coming for us. Pearl Harbor. All right, now we're in. So on one hand, you do have to learn from history and go, we can't be isolationists. And then you view Korea, Vietnam, in Iraq, and you go, we also can't be occupiers, nation builders. And
for 70 years.
And for right now, you might argue, I'm just thinking of, how would you argue this on the other side? You would argue this isn't a Korea or an Iraq or a Vietnam. This is more of a World War I, World War II, where we have to put our foot down now. Sure. Okay. However, it completely changes the equation when we're funding bioweapons labs there. If Russia just went on into Ukraine, I wouldn't be comfortable with saying he just wants a warm water port. I would be looking at it more as like a World War I, World War II, and going, we've learned from this before. You cannot appease. You have to put your foot down now. And as violent as it will be more violent if we don't. This is different. This is their Cuban Missile.
Yeah, exactly. And they got nuclear weapons.
Yeah, this isn't Iraq where
No.
they have sandals and AKs.
No.
This is although it's not the USSR anymore, they're also not a pushover.
No. And we've been pushing for for Ukraine to join NATO for a long time. And, back to the Cuban Missile crisis thing. I mean, to me, I liken it to that. I think you see the same analogy.
Yeah.
We are not blameless here. We've got smart people in the Congress and in the Senate who should be restraining Mr. Biden's gaffes, and this whole thing with him standing in front of the 82nd Airborne saying you're going into Iraq, you're going into the Ukraine, is totally unsat. That is poking the bear in my world, and that went out to the whole world. I got friends in Australia that sent me emails of like, what is your guy doing?
Yeah.
What is he doing? Is he trying to start World War III?
Well, saying Putin cannot stay in power?
That's regime change. We shouldn't be in that business.
Yeah. What?
We just got over a 20-year war where we accomplished nothing but a bunch of dead people on both sides. So do we want to start this again?
And listen, if you really just want to go, cold hard reality, you can talk shit about regime change and use the CIA to, do some wet works when you're toppling, and it's not justifying, but just the reality is that when you're toppling third world nations in South America or Africa or the Middle East, you can and I don't agree with it, but you can kind of talk shit when you're talking down, when you're carrying a big 21st century stick and you're talking shit to some backwards, opium farmers.
Right.
You can't talk shit to someone with a nuclear. You can't talk about regime change in the UK. No. France has nuclear weapons. Germany, you just can't do it.
Right. These people are not stupid. They have capabilities that rival our own. Mm-hmm. And not only them, but imagine the Russians and the Chinese double up. We can't carry out a two-front war.
No, this isn't the 1990s. We can't take on the rest of the world with one hand tied behind our back anymore. If there's a Russo-Sino coalition, maybe the U.S. and NATO could take them, but then at that point, it's like, take what? What are we? Who's going to control the radioactive ember?
Yeah, and another thing, let's back this up a little bit. Just recently, a few weeks ago, right around the time Ukraine started, when we shut down our oil pipeline, and so we're literally buying $1 billion of Russian oil every day, and we're literally funding Putin's war.
Yeah, that's
pretty embarrassing.
Yeah.
We're killing ourselves here. And Mr. Biden signed off on that. Did he not realize what he was doing? We're talking out of one side of our mouth and doing something else. And what I see from Biden and the Biden administration is just disappointing, and they need to be brought to heel. And the only way to do that is for conservatives to get into Congress and stop him at every turn. And I'm hoping that I will be the person that can help in that effort.
Hell yeah. And on that note, Mr. Flowers, let's wrap this one up. I'll text you. We'll schedule a third one. As always, it's a pleasure to talk to you, my man. And
you are the man. You are the man.
You are. And I will try to keep you out of Guantanamo, and same with myself.
Hey, I expect you to come get me if I go.
If you're in Guantanamo, I'm in there too. And I'm gonna be telling the secret FISA court. I'm gonna be saying it's on an Audible book. It's in the public. And
it's
gonna be no dice. So that's my defense. It's on Audible. Not go after Bezos, not me. I didn't do it. They did this.
Well, brother, the bottom line is people like you and me. There's a lot of us out here, and we ain't backing down. It's time.
Yeah, hell yeah, Mr. Flowers. Yeah. I'll text this to you when it's up. I've got a couple more podcasts today, so it's not going to be up immediately, but it will be up today, and we'll schedule another one.
Outstanding, sir. I look forward to talking to you again.
Very much so. Thank you so much. God bless. Take care, everybody.